Some NBA rumors that have been placed out there is now saying that Jonathan Kuminga was hopeful for a sign and trade to the Chicago Bulls. Interesting to say the least. You know we're gonna talk about it. And then G League fan favorite Yuki Karamara is getting comfortable with the Chicago Bulls. What does the future look like for that young fella? Y'all know we're gonna talk about it and break it all down, but you know you gotta hear the music first.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Boys podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down for another daily episode. So if you tuned in, make sure you go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Big shout out to Bulls Nation for the tremendous support. Y'all know we're going to keep it rocking during the off season. But hey, it is NBA rumors. I want to preface that. There's no crazy stamp on it, but we are hearing some things and what could have potentially been another move for the Chicago Bulls. So I'm getting this article, and it was written by Evan Damarel, and he reported from Jake Fisher. So you take it for however you gonna take it. He revealed that Jonathan Kuminga and his camp were hopeful for a sign and trade scenario with the Chicago Bulls. Did go on to say the interest wasn't one-sided, but the Bulls' contract negotiations with Josh Giddey could have been something that threw off the momentum. Now, we sitting here and we asking, why does Jonathan Kuminga not want to be with Golden State anymore? We know that Golden State is a championship franchise right now. You still got Hall of Famers on the squad like Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler. And Jonathan Kuminga will want to, at least from the outside looking in, probably try to find his way to somehow, some way fit into that type of scenario. But again, sometimes playing with the Golden State Warriors is very, very difficult depending on the type of player that you are. We look at some past examples. I remember when they went and got out and picked up D'Angelo Russell. Hey, Steve Kerr was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. We're going to get him up out of here. I remember they went and drafted James Wiseman at number 2 overall just a couple years ago. It was like, yeah, this ain't going to work. And now the same thing is starting to look like the same thing when it comes to my man Jonathan Kuminga. And I kind of understand it to a degree. Yes, Steph Curry is great. Yes, being a part of the Golden State Warriors is great. Having a enforcer and a pest and an annoyance and a big mofo that's going to cause a lot of havoc on the basketball court in the Draymond Green. But playing with those guys is very, very difficult, especially with a lot of the off-ball action that you have to go out there and execute as a basketball player to fit Steph Curry's system. It's Steph Curry's system, it's Steve Kerr's system, but you know it's tailored to Steph Curry. And only a certain amount of players can go out there and operate within that said system because the focus is always going to be on Steph Curry. And it was crazy watching some of those games, to say the least. I ain't even going to lie to you. When Jonathan Kuminga had Steph Curry at the top, he looking him off. No, I'm shooting this, bitch. He said, no, I'm shooting this. So yeah, you definitely have to sit there and ask yourself, why doesn't Jonathan Kuminga want to be a part of this organization, and then kind of look towards a potential fresh start with the Chicago Bulls? As of late, a lot of young players say they like playing with the Chicago Bulls. They're going to go up and down. They're going to play fast pace. They're going to shoot threes. And when you have an opportunity, you're going to attack the basket. The expectation is to be sound on the defensive side, but a lot of young players seem like they love playing for Billy Donovan, even though a lot of us Bulls fans can be like, why? Or we ask why, or we question why. But then when you see the play style, and you can really see that on any given night, whoever has it going, they can really, really shine. It's not all predicated on one player. It's a multitude of things that helps this offensive system in Chicago work. And I think that a fresh start for Jonathan Kuminga could have been something that we really, really look at. And it could have been a good thing for him in Chicago, potentially. You know what I'm saying? But the Chicago Bulls, they elected to trade away Lonzo Ball and say, give us a Coro. and we're going to try to see if it works in that regard. I honestly think that move probably took away the idea of Jonathan Kuminga potentially being in Chicago personally, because I think that now you looking at the move for Okoro, you already got Montes Buzelis, who's expected to take a step forward, and then you still got other wings and other guys on the backside that you still have to figure out minutes for. You know what I'm saying? You still have to figure out what you're going to do with the Kevin Herter. You're still going to look at situations to see how Julian Phillips is going to come along. You're still looking at a situation to where you're paying Patrick Williams $18 million, and you're hopeful that some way, somehow, he can come in and be a contributor in a much better fashion than what we've seen in years past. So with that type of crowded room, at least for that 3 and 4 spot, you look at the situation for Jonathan Kuminga, it's kind of like, if we being quite honest with you, it's pretty much over for him having that idea of coming to the Chicago Bulls. I'm not necessarily mad at the idea, because I think that when a young player is going through certain things and you see so much potential and you see so many ways that they can grow and continue to shine, and the opportunities that could have been going towards Jonathan Kuminga in a system like this with a bunch of young other guys with no de facto guy at the moment, he could have pretty much came over here and shined. And that's just my personal opinion. You look at certain players who have a change of scenery, like for years, one of our own, Larry Marketing, we seen potential over here, but when he bounced to Cleveland, we was like, okay, he's starting to get his feet. And then he ends up in Utah with a larger role and no expectations of, hey, you got to give the ball to a Steph Curry over here in Utah. You see Larry Marketing go out there and get him and earn himself an all-star. You know what I'm saying? So those the type of things that you see, and that's maybe something that Jonathan Kuminga is looking at right now. But Jonathan Kuminga is in a tough spot himself. We looking at a lot of second round picks in the not second round picks. This ain't the, we talking about restricted free agents in the NFL. Excuse me. They not getting much traction right now. They don't have much leverage or traction right now. Along with Josh Giddey and Jonathan Kuminga, my man's Cam Thomas in Brooklyn with the Nets, he's looking for some money too. And these owners and these guys that are running their show, they are shooting down the idea of giving all three of these guys, and I can't remember the other guy right now, but they are not on board with giving them $30 million like guys got, like Emmanuel Quickly a few years ago and Jalen Suggs. So they are in a difficult situation, and it's so crazy to the point to where a lot of people believe that Josh Giddey doesn't have leverage, my man's Jonathan Kuminga doesn't have leverage, and Cam Thomas does not have leverage. The Brooklyn Nets just use all of their draft picks in this year's draft, and they're bringing in a huge influx of talent, and now guys are going to have to figure it out. And the Brooklyn Nets are looking at Cam Thomas like, are you really worth 30 mil? No, not in our opinion. At least that's what they're saying from the outside looking in. But when it comes to Jonathan Kuminga, my man's Mark Grandi, he pretty much said the Warriors want to have all the leverage in this Kuminga situation for themselves. So until the Kuminga thing resolves itself one way or another, they aren't giving out anything above a vet minimum deal. They're probably not going to even do a vet minimum deal until the Kuminga situation resolves itself. That's coming from Mark Grandi. Take it for what you will. Again, these are just rumors. These are just things that we're hearing. So you take it at however you gonna take it. You believe it, you don't believe it, however you gonna take it. But it's definitely interesting for basketball conversations surrounding our Chicago Bulls. And I think that this statement from my man's Mark Grandi, statements held from Jake Fisher, I believe they hold some type of validity to them. You know what I'm saying? Are we going to take it and run with it and use it and, and go off on it? No, not necessarily, but some things can hold some value to it, especially in this situation when you understand that my man's Jonathan Kuminga, before, free agency kicked off, the draft kicked off, there was a lot of discussions being thrown out there about the Bulls having interest in Jonathan Kuminga, especially with the Chicago Bulls trying to get off of Nikola Vucevic and then looking in return and sticking to their plan of acquiring young players with experience. It seemed like the perfect situation to, one, get rid of Nikola Vucevic, and then two, acquire a young player with the experience. But the problem lies in the money. It still lies in the money. The problem still lies in the money. Nobody, at least right now, from what it looks like and what it seems like, they don't want to pay these young restricted free agents upwards of $30 million at least for the moment. And I understand it because Josh Giddey, yes, you had a good second half to your season, but we need to see a full season. Jonathan Kuminga, you definitely went up there and bumped up your scoring. You definitely look like you have a lot of things in your tool bag, but at the same damn time, we don't know if these two guys are going to be consistent players moving forward, and that is some real valid reasons to not just throw out $30 million, at least considering what these second aprons have done to teams all around the league and how the market has positioned itself to where certain players you would think they was going to be getting big deals, but they have not been getting big deals. Hey, the craziest thing right now, the only re-signing right now that has accumulated $30 million is the re-signing of Kyrie Irving, at least for the moment. And these guys, they're not on that level yet, even if Kyrie Irving is hurt. And that's how franchises are going to operate. So you look at that, you take it for what it is. It would have been nice to see Jonathan Kuminga over here, but me personally, I think that is virtually done. So y'all chime in, let me know how y'all feeling about that. Let's talk about my man Yuki. Yuki. Hey, we got to get him a nice sound on this thing, boy, especially when we watch him. Hey, I ain't gonna lie to you though, but Yuki saying that he getting comfortable with the Chicago Bulls, and he seeming like my man's want to stick around a little bit longer. I'm not even gonna hold you. Yuki said the Chicago organization is so great. Hold on now. Chicago Bulls and great don't necessarily always fit in the same sentence for a lot of Bulls fans, Yuki. I ain't gonna lie. But he also said, I have great teammates, great staff, great facilities. I'm so satisfied. But we still have a game the day after tomorrow, which is today. We've got to be ready for the next game. He even went on to talk about how much work he put in this offseason, understanding that he's short. My short people, stand the fuck up. Stand the fuck up. Put that work in. They be hating on us. Put that work in. But at 5'8", my man's talked about how he really, really worked on his defense. They asked questions about his passing ability. He said, hey, I just watch a lot of players that are able to do it, and I understand that me being this size, I have to be very, very good, essentially, on the defensive side, and I'm paraphrasing with that. But I think that, and y'all follow me. Look, here's my thing. If you are willing to send Noah Essengay down to the G League for development, you got to have Yuki Kawamura right there with him. You got to have Yuki right there with him. I think that'll be the perfect point guard to have next to Noah Essengay for developmental purposes in the G League to help him get better. Call it how you see it. I'm talking about the passing ability, the ability to be able to pass, the ability to play make, the ability to see things you don't even see on the basketball court while you're watching. It just be crazy. And to see that my man's is getting comfortable, look, I don't know who you got to move to get off this two-way. I ain't going to lie. I don't know who you got to move to get off these two ways. But Yuki has to stay within the Chicago Bulls organization simply because I believe it is essential to the development of Noah Essengay. If you're going to send Noah down there to the G League, you got to have a point guard that understands the pick and roll, that understands to hit the man in the corner pocket, that understands how to push pace, that understands on the defensive side, yes, we putting on for the short people, but I'm right here and I'm ready to be a dog. That's Yuki Kawamura. You got to figure out a way, bro. You have to figure out a way to get Yuki and to remain with the Chicago Bulls. Now, when he talk about the organization is so great, look, that's another discussion for another day because I know some of y'all gonna ask him if he's on drugs. I know some of y'all. That's how Chicago Bulls fans are. There's gonna be some of them that be like, "Hey, man, I could absolutely see where he's coming from, man. He has an inside view." Then there's gonna be some of y'all that's out there like, "We don't care what Yuki talking about. This organization is trash." I know y'all. I know a lot of y'all gonna do that. But at the end of the day, look, the way that the Chicago Bulls are moving in this way, a lot of people might not like it, but I like some of the moves that they've made and did not make. Um, Obviously, when you go and you talk about the Okoro move, obviously you want to go and say, let's get draft picks. But to me, I understand it to a degree. No, you're not getting a defender that Lonzo Ball was, but you're getting a defender that can come in and be more available than a Lonzo Ball. And we will miss Lonzo Ball. But I believe it was a trade that worked out for both sides, personally. Then when you talk about the re-signing of Trey Jones, I understand that to a degree, simply because going back to the Lonzo Ball, now you get a backup point guard that was really, really good during his time here, who is a defensive pest and is sound and has a high Q on the offensive side of the ball. So you look at those moves and you take it for what it is. Has everything been great? No, everything has not been great. But some things have been good in the way that the Chicago Bulls have positioned themselves to have this influx of talent, and now they have to work it out, and we'll see. Maybe we still in mid. But at the end of the day, now you have potentially Josh Giddey getting locked up for the foreseeable future. You still have Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu here, even though there have been some rumors that one of them could potentially be moved. You got Montes Buzelis, who look, it is summer league, y'all. So I can't go out there and drink the Kool-Aid too much in summer league. But Montes Buzelis look like he ready for a big season. That's just me. I'm just looking, hey, that's just me. The way that he bulked up and the way that he was able to finish through contact in summer league, obviously we got to take it for what it is. We can't overreact to it, and I can't pour the sugar in the Kool-Aid. But the water in the Kool-Aid pack is ready for me to pour the sugar in the Kool-Aid so we could be drinking some good Kool-Aid, because right now it ain't got no flavor. If my man's Montes Buzelis good in this season and he do some of those things versus NBA talent that we seen him do against summer league talent, big season coming for Montes Buzelis, but I'm going to hold off on putting the sugar in the Kool-Aid. But the drink is made, partially. And then you look at some of the other players who could potentially help turn this thing around. Kevin Huerter had a good showing with the Chicago Bulls. Zach Collins had a good showing with the Chicago Bulls during his time. Obviously, you want to see a larger sample size, but this is what we got. And this is where we're at with it. But hey, Yuki, start the Yuki campaign, bro. One last question. Do y'all think he could potentially make the big squad and be our TJ McConnell? I know TJ McConnell taller, but I'm just saying, anytime TJ McConnell come in the game, it's a problem. I think if Yuki come in the game, they're going to be, hey, get short, folks. And I'm going to be like, let's go, put on it out. And if he, that type of player, when he that short, hey, I ain't saying he could play a lot of playoff basketball, but regular season, they're going to slack off on him. Do your thing, Brody. Do your thing. We putting on. Hey, as y'all know, I'm taking it too far. I'm taking it too far for the short people. Y'all be disrespecting us, and a lot of y'all be wasting height. At least us, we ain't got no reason. We ain't got no reason to waste height. We got to use all us. All us. But hey, man, I appreciate y'all, man. That is it for today's episode, man. Go ahead and chime in. Let me know how y'all feeling about all things discussed. Talking about Jonathan Kuminga, who was hopeful for the Chicago Bulls to make that trade. And then my man Yuki Karamaro being comfortable in the Chicago Bulls and how I believe he need to be here. Figure it out. That's all I got to say. Figure it out. But nonetheless, I'm up out of here, y'all. Make sure before you go, you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank y'all so much. Make sure you always see red, and y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
Cognac. Gang.